Hello everyone, my name is Taylor Denby and I'm doing my article review presentation on creating and managing a learning culture, the essence of leadership. And the first topic we're going to discuss today is what do leaders do? They create and change culture, they understand and work with culture, and they destroy culture when it is viewed as dysfunctional. What might a learning culture look like? There are 10 key issues with a learning culture. The first issue is a proactivity assumption. A learning culture would assume that the appropriate way for humans to behave is to be proactive problem solvers and learners. The learning leader must portray confidence that active problem solving leads to learning, which means that the leader would set an example for others in the organization. So basically, the leader would set himself apart from everyone else. The second issue is a commitment to learning to learn. A learning culture must have a learning gene, meaning members must hold the shared assumption that learning is a good thing and something worth investing in. Learning must include not only learning about changes in the external environment, but also learning about internal relationships and how well the organization is adapted to the external changes. The third issue is a positive assumption about human nature. Learning leaders must have faith in people and believe that ultimately human nature is good and that people will learn if provided with the necessary resources. Learning implies a desire for survival and improvement. If leaders start with assumptions that people are lazy and have no concern for the organization, that's what the organization will become because they will create that. The fourth issue is an assumption that the environment can be dominated. A learning culture must contain the shared assumption that the environment is to some degree manageable. The fifth issue is a commitment to truth through pragmatism and inquiry. A learning culture must contain the shared assumption that solutions to problems derive from a deep belief in inquiry and a pragmatic search for truth. Our learning methods will change as new problems rise and occur. The sixth issue is an orientation toward the future. One must think far enough ahead to be able to assess the systematic consequences of different courses of action, but also think in the near future to assess whether or not one's solutions are working. The learning leader will have to make a diagnosis of what an optimal time orientation and a medium length of time is, and that will vary according to the situation. The seventh issue is a commitment to full and open task-relevant communication. A learning culture must be built on the assumption that communication and information are central to organizational well-being and must create a multi-channel communication system that allows everyone to connect to everyone else, meaning that everyone must be able to communicate with each other, and telling the truth is always positive and desirable. The learning leader will need to specify what the communication system must be and what information is critical to effective problem solving and learning. The eighth issue is a commitment to diversity. The learning leader should stimulate diversity and make known that diversity is desirable at the individual and subgroup levels. The leader should ensure good cross-cultural communication and mutual understanding throughout the organization. The ninth issue is a commitment to systemic thinking. The learning leader must believe that the world is complex, nonlinear, and interconnected. The 10th issue is a commitment to cultural analysis for understanding and improving the world. A learning culture must understand the concept of culture, and the learning leader must be willing and able to work with culture. The evolving role of a learning leader. The learning leader must not only have a vision for the organization, but be able to impose it and evolve as external circumstances change. The leader needs persistence and patience to be clear and strong in their vision and open to altering it if necessary. The learning culture influences the strategy, structure, procedures, and the way in which the group members will relate to each other. Culture becomes a powerful influence on how members think, feel, and behave. Leaders will need insight and skill to help the culture evolve into whatever will be most effective for the future of the organization. Leadership is a capacity to surmount the very organizational culture that the leader helped to create, to be able to perceive and think about doing things in a way that is different from the organizational assumptions. Learning leaders must be well connected to the parts of the organization that are connected to the external environment, and they must be able to listen to information coming from those sources. Becoming a learning leader, leaders must first hold assumptions, become learners themselves, and then learn to recognize and reward behavior based on the assumptions in others. Leadership is intertwined with culture formation, evolution, transformation, and destruction. Culture is created by the actions of leaders and is strengthened by leaders. However, when culture becomes dysfunctional, leadership is needed to help the group unlearn some of its cultural assumptions and learn new assumptions. The leader of the future must be a perpetual learner, and learning and change cannot be enforced on people. In the end, cultural understanding and cultural learning begin with self-insight.